and what you're doing, that there's beauty in the life that you're living right now, even though you may have a hope in your heart that things might change or move in a different direction, that learning how to reclaim that sense of self is really at the heart of your work.
100%. And so much of language in our world and our culture has been captured to humiliate us.
Hmm.
If we look at advertisements, political campaigns, if we look at emails, corporate messages, we're bombarded by language that tears us down and says we are not good enough. We are constantly humiliated and debased in the way we experience language. And the work of, I'm already getting emotional talking about this. The work of poetry and language arts is to reclaim the strangeness and the beauty of language so that the wonder and awe at the heart of it is recycled and reclaimed back to everyday use. Language is a strategy that has always been historically used to control people. And so when you realize that, oh, so much of this thing I use every day, when it goes into the hands of corporations and politicians, it's manipulating me, then you realize if I speak and use this material with deliberate attention and intention, then I can reclaim a portion of myself. And part of that is dignity. And a lot of my work is I'm interested in using language as a way to reconfirm self and communal dignity.
What does the word dignity mean to you?
The ability to live without shame, and to be proud of parts of your life that people think are failures. Because in my short journey, I've learned that all the struggles that me and my family have gone through, they were all also sites of innovation and creative struggle. So to me, I think dignity is about looking at what people have said to you that you should discard and realizing that it's always part of you and being proud of that as a process of who you are. So owning all of your parts and not having to walk around with that shame, that to me is what dignity is. And to me, it's like you're told that you got to go up the mountain and there'll be a light that will heal everything. And what I realized was how long and inefficient realizing that is. It's like when I was raised by illiterate women, and because they were illiterate, they knew how powerful reading was. It was like sorcery to them, because it's like we don't know what it is, but we know we know the world runs with language. So you have our blessing to go off and figure that out. I never had a mother that forced me to do this or that. She said, son, go off and learn what you can. And if you can't, there's always a seat next to me at the nail salon. So you go off and you go get your education. And for me, it was a long, circuitous path. It took me 6 years to get my undergraduate. I went to 4 institutions, community college, business school, dropped out, what have you. But you go off and then you tell yourself, and I think this is particularly true of the immigrant and the refugee, but I think it's true for all children of the working poor. You tell yourself, I'm going to go into that institution and I'm going to figure it out. And I'm going to come back and give this thing that was locked away inside the university libraries. I'm going to give it to my family, and then we're going to find out why we're here and what happened to us. So it's kind of this mining. And you realize that knowledge is so inefficient and it takes so long. Meanwhile, destruction is so efficient. Our social services are gutted overnight by the stroke of a pen. Entire city blocks could be blown apart by weapons. It will take decades to heal and repair them. Destruction is so darn efficient. I think human beings, one of our worst inventions was that we have found out We have found the way in the 20th century to make instant ruins. Before that, ruins took thousands of years to create, but now we can make ruins instantly. And we are still living in the aftermath of that. And I think that's also a metaphor for reparative learning, which is what so much of class, being a class outsider is, right? You're brought up with so much shame.
What did growing up and feeling that shame that you feel when you're poor, when you're an outsider in a new country, what did that teach you about how to live in a world that is constantly sending messages that we don't support you, we're against you, there's something wrong with you? What did that teach you about life?
Shame is so perennial for so much of American life. It's very much true for the poor. I remember, like being in Stop and Shop, this local grocery store, and my mother like counting how many tomatoes she can afford. And I just think, as a kid, you're sitting there, you're standing in line, and you're watching the cashier, who's not that older than you, look away because we're all in one ecosystem. They're not making that much money. So it's just like poor folks together. But what's unspoken is that deep shame. And none of us knew why or how to ameliorate it. And so you're sitting in line and you're watching your mom push 2 little plum tomatoes back in the conveyor belt. And you're watching this kid who's probably 4 years older than you look away because he knows, out of respect. Again, that dignity, like offering each other a little bit of dignity to look away. I'm sorry.
Why are you apologizing?
Because I want to be clear, and my voice it wobbles.
You're very clear.
Okay, thank you.
And I've had the experience, but only I'm the mother, with the kids standing next to me. And I had the line rehearsed for when the credit card would not go through.
Yeah.
And I would always cock my head and kind of look surprised and go, well, that's weird because it just worked at the gas station.
Yeah, wow.
And then I'd say, come on, kids, let's go out to the car. I've got another card out there, which I didn't. And you don't forget that.
Yeah.
But everybody knows, and nobody knows how to talk about it, how to make it right. And looking away in that moment is a form of respect because you don't want the person who's dealing with that heaviness to feel the weight of your judgment either.
Yeah.
And so please don't apologize for speaking and telling us the truth of your experience, because, for the person who doesn't know you, you're, in my opinion, one of the most decorated and awarded writers alive right now. The American Book Award, the Mark Twain Award, the T.S. Eliot Prize, the New England Book Award, the MacArthur Genius Grant. You are a professor at NYU. And so while your story began growing up in Hartford, Connecticut, immigrating here from Vietnam, your mom and the women around you being illiterate and working in a nail salon, you went on to take back language and write about dignity in the human experience.
Gosh, Mel, thank you so much for that counter and that opening. I'm so grateful for that moment of grace, because I think one of the things about moving through class systems is that you always assume what you're going to say is going to be not legible. And I feel like, both you and I know, and maybe a lot of your audiences knows too, where you walk into a room and you say, well, do I really say it like it is? And if I do, are they going to look at me like I'm crazy? Or am I just outside the frame of understanding. And so you try to assume that what you're saying is a breach. So you have to apologize for that breach, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to go here. But I feel like we need to go here, right? And you gave me such a beautiful moment of grace that I don't really experience in the spaces that I now traffic in. But I think there's two types of shame. There's the shame of who you are, which is ontological. You know, people.
What does that word mean? It's a big word.
Yeah.
Ocean. Like
the shame of yourself, right? So people, you know, like for queerness, many people shame us for our self, our ontological presence, our being, which we cannot change. And then there's the shame of action, of conduct, which I think can be really fruitful. You know, it would be great if a lot of our politicians felt a little bit of shame, right? Because that means there's recognizing that you can act on it. You can do something. You can repair something. And so I think in many cases, so much of my childhood was about both of those shames. The shame of being poor, which you had no control over. Then the shame of being queer, which you have no control over. And then the shame that what you're doing is not enough. So the shame of action. It's like, oh, I work so hard, but I'm not feeding my family. I work so hard, but I'm still stuck in this tenement. And, you know, my mother told me, I remember we were just talking one day before bed, and I just like to just talk to her before bed. I was like 10 or 11. And she turned to me and she said, I'm so sorry that our family is so stupid. We couldn't make it. It's been 10 years in this country, and other folks have started businesses that are lucrative. They've gone off to Houston and LA, other Vietnamese communities. They bought homes, and we can't figure it out. I'm sorry that we're just so dumb. That gets the heart of what it means to be poor, is that you start to feel that you're not a good person because other people could afford to give, right? The heroes in our public discourse are the entrepreneurs, the ones that can donate and give and rescue children and rescue the people. But every day you don't have enough to even be the hero of your family, that you start to feel like you're the villain of your community.